Hi, let's tangle it up with Cadent.
You can do it, just take it slow. Every line a masterpiece, let it show.
Check this out. See the shaking? That's not me shaking the table. That was an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.7. Notice that I didn't crawl under the table or go underneath the doorway? It's because I thought it was a big truck passing by. Earthquake aside, I'd like to welcome you to Hobbi 101. I'm Melanie. So here's the first step when you're drawing the Tangle pattern Cadent, which was created by Rick and Maria from the Zentangle headquarters. They're the founders of Zentangle. So we start out with drawing these tiny squares in a grid pattern. And then from top to bottom, you start joining each of those individual squares. So now I'm joining the squares starting from the right and then crossing over and joining it to the top left side of the squares on the bottom. And that is the basic Tangle pattern Cadent. It's very simple to draw. I would recommend practicing it on a practice sheet just to get the hang of it. This next section shows you how versatile the Tangle pattern Cadent can be. If you're new to Zentangle or just looking for a relaxing pattern to add to your repertoire, Cadent is a must-know. It's simple to learn and super satisfying to draw. The creators, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas, who are the founders of Zentangle, they designed this pattern to be easy to follow yet endlessly adaptable. You can keep it clean and simple, or jazz it up with creative variations. Cadent can be used as a fill, and it also can be used as a ribbon or a border. The possibilities are endless. A huge thank you to Rick and Maria for sharing this beautiful pattern with the world, and also for creating the Zentangle method. For this first variation, I'm just adding an inner aura within each of these cells. Here's another variation of Cadent. Instead of starting with those tiny squares, I create the grid using these little circles. You could either leave the circles open or you could fill it in. And now I do those wavy lines from the top of the circle to the bottom of the next circle. And then the downward wavy line that's from the right side of the circle to the left side of the circle below it. Do you have a favorite tangle? Let me know in the comments which one I should teach next. So for this variation, besides using circles or dots instead of those tiny squares, I also added an aura or an echo of that wavy line. Here's the third variation. In the third variation, I'm going to stagger the placement of these tiny squares. So the first line, I'll put 3 squares, and then I'm going to draw a smaller square on the next row, but in between those first initial squares. Now we're going to change it up a bit with the wavy lines. Instead of joining it to 4 points, we're going to be joining it to 3 points. So the top row starts the same, so you're joining the top to the bottom of each square in that row. And now we're going to join the right side of the top square to the bottom left. It's a little tricky to draw, so this one takes a little bit of practice. And now we're going to take the bottom of the square on the right, and we're going to draw a wavy line to the top of the left side of the square below. Okay, so the whole point of this tangle pattern variant is to create cadence, but in a triangle format. I think I decided to fill in these squares because it looked a little bit sloppy. My style is I like to keep things a little crisp. But if you like a little looser style, then feel free to leave your squares open. Now we're going to do a variation on the cadent variation number 3. So instead of using the little squares in that alternating pattern grid, so we're using these dots in that alternating pattern. And then we're going to do the 3-point cadent. Again, this one, the 3-point, the triangle version of cadent is a little tricky. I always practice this one quite a bit before I actually do a nice paper tile. Okay, so we're just finishing up that cadent variation number 3, and what we're going to do in this 4th variation is add some decorations. See how it changes up the look when we add these inner auras? So with these inner auras, you can fill them in too. You can draw different patterns like hatching, stripes, dots. And there you have it. It gives you an idea of how you can use Cadent as a fill. And finally, the last step. Let's add some shading, just to add some definition and to have these cadent shapes pop. I simply just shade the bottom of each wavy line. You can also shade it above the line, so then it almost looks like they're overlapping, so like they're in a pocket. But shading cadent is definitely way easier than doing the triangle cadent, that's for sure. But the end result is always nice. It's one of my favorite tangles. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss a tangle. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos, as it lets YouTube know that it is worth sharing to new audiences.
With gentle strokes, the journey starts. A canvas blooms from simple arts. In tranquil lines, your zen unfolds.